This is RPGDad,
RPGNate,
and welcome to our weekly Encounters Wrap-Up podcast. This week we continued with the campaign Search for the Diamond Staff, and we were doing session 6.
Granted, last session he started reading this session, so
I know, that was all.
Already knew.
That was my DM preparation that I talked about in the vlog. I did my reading, and I forgot to flip the pages back and just started reading from that point forward. So yeah, it was a deja vu for the people that had played at the table last week, but we did have, three new people that at our table. 2 new players, one who had never played a role-playing game. He had played WoW and stuff like that. Another who had just started playing 4th edition last week.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool to see some new players showing up, checking out next. They both seemed like they enjoyed themselves. And we had a player that slid over from the other table, so we had a party of 6. So that kind of meant that I had to bump up some of the monsters again, but this week was really nothing compared to the last 2 weeks' encounters.
Yeah.
So the first part, it was really like a 2-part session. One was a skill challenge, and that was at the ruins at Yvarin. Why don't you talk about that? About what you had to do.
Skill challenge?
Yeah.
Which one?
Any of them. It was a group of skill challenges.
Well, first we went around and searched the place and we found a body and some webbing. I ended up animating dead on it and making a zombie.
Well, that was actually second. The first thing you ran into was that statue.
The statue?
The statue. Oh. Camilla's monument. And you guys kind of knew what you were supposed to do because of that. So you let the new people at the table kind of go through it. And, I like to make it seem scarier than it is. And I'm like, when in the description when it talks about there's a monument and the runes that still look nice and pristine, the silver runes, and everybody's like, oh, we better do this, we better do that, and everybody was scared of the runes and stuff, except for the people who knew what was going to happen. But the one brand new player to role playing, he's like, I'll just go touch the rune, and I just for the heck of it rolled a dice, and I said, yeah, nothing happens. But it was kind of funny to watch the reaction of the players because they were like, oh, something horrible is going to happen.
I was acting like something horrible was going to happen. I'm like, I stand 50 feet back because I'd kind of forgotten as well.
But it was funny because it's just the elf pops up, Camilla, and she starts telling you all about what happened here, and it was just kind of like a nice little background thing. You could do a skill challenge to tell that the runes were like an ancient rune from an old time and that kind of stuff, but it was really more a history thing where no matter what, you were just going to touch it and she was going to talk and tell you about the history of the area. So, but it was just watching the reactions are funny when players, I think they've gotten so used to bad things happening to everything they do that they're just scared to walk up to stuff. And even the new players were wary, which was good. Nobody went just running in crazy. Now the second one was the Moon Arch. And that was the thing with the tripwire.
Oh yeah, our thief originally found it and then he wasn't going to tell us. And then...
Well, he's like, well, I'm just going to walk by. I said, well, you can't just walk by. He's like, well, nonchalant. I'm like, the thing's between knee and ankle high. So you're going to have to nonchalantly step over it. And people are going to think you're doing, I don't know, the reverse limbo or just acting really weird. And they'll tell you're stepping over, no matter how thiefy you're being.
Yeah.
And then you rolled and RPG Gem rolled. You both detected it. And he's like, oh, all right. I'll take care of the trap. So he took care of the trap, and it's kind of a good thing because everybody was bunched up, and this poison dart wall was really pretty bad.
What did it do?
It would have hit everybody in a 25-foot radius.
For how much damage?
It would have done 3d6 of damage and 3d4 of poison damage. It doesn't do that much in the 4th edition encounter. The bad thing was it's even going to hit on a miss. So you're going to take half damage on all that, and it's going to keep triggering every round. So, now in this it says it's not going to, but I believe in the 5th edition it was just going to keep killing you guys. But either way, it would have been a lot of damage on your party before you even got in there. And if the characters if you've got steady characters that instead of new players coming in, and this is the last of 3 encounters, that's a bad thing to be going into combat when you're all of a sudden you're burning up whatever last heals you have because the thief was going to be a douche and let the party die.
Granted, we do have hit die, so we could use those.
Yeah, but like last week, if your mage was here, he just came by to say hi. He burned all his hit die last week.
Really?
He had none left. And a couple players were burning their hit die. I think the other wizard that didn't show this week, he burned his hit die too. So you were down to relying on the healers to heal. Now the plus side was you had new players at the table. So you had a ranger that was full, you had a paladin that was full, and you had a couple of extra heals, but it could have gone bad for you guys if this thing tripped.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing, this was where you actually found the body, the ruined portico, and that was covered with webs, and there's a body in there and all that kind of stuff. And go ahead.
Well, we searched it. We found a magic item. I believe it was a Cloak of Elven Accuracy or something like that.
Cloak of Elven kind, I believe.
Whatever. And then I raised it because I was a wizard this time, and I took the Animate Dead spell. So I used it on him.
Yes, and you raised a zombie. You and your necromancer fetish. It drives me crazy. It really drives me crazy. If it's a video game and it's got necromancers in it, you gotta be a necromancer. And in this...
I like having things that kill stuff for me.
But the thing is, you just exposed yourself as evil. And the party's not happy about it. And it was funny because one of the new players was like, you're the worst wizard ever. Because here you are, you're trying to do the thievery check. You're trying to do this check.
I was just doing a search check to find anything if the thief failed.
But let everybody do their job. You're a wizard.
What job do I have?
Your job's to not be a douche.
Just throw a fireball at everything. How's that sound?
That can be your job. That's fine. And then
my God, there was something over in those bushes. Boom!
There you go.
It's dead.
It's better than just being the worst wizard ever, trying to be the man of everything. It just doesn't work.
I rolled really
You're not a jack of all trades. You're a wizard. Be a wizard.
The way I rolled on that character, I could be.
Be a wizard. All right? Or I'm going to start making you use the array.
Uh-huh.
All right, so the next thing you came to, which was what was going to trigger the encounter, was the Ruined Council Hall. So you had another minor skill challenge just to figure out what it was. And then once you go in, you had this big nest of, I'm just going to call them Spider-Men because it was hilarious. They all had this web line thing. And in 4th edition, it was an encounter power where they could use it almost like Spider-Man shooting a web line. And he could swing and move 5 squares, go up, down, all around, and all this kind of stuff. In 5th edition, it was a recharge.
Okay.
And I kept rolling those recharges, so they were Spider-Manning all over the place.
Where's the Spider-Man power?
The web line.
Web line. I thought that was kind of stupid.
And in this, here, it said must be climbing. That was not a requirement in next. And, it was funny because you guys get in the encounter, the ranger moves in and he puts down that trap with a 10-foot radius. And he put it right among a couple of these kittens. But the problem was, they're not affected by traps, they're not encumbered by rough terrain. I didn't bother saying that. I just used the web line and let them swing up to the ranger. And he's like, oh crap!
Looking at... Or they don't have much of a speed, do they? They only have 6. What do they have in the...
They had a 6. But they had a climb speed of 6, or they had a move of 6. So, a couple of the guys, I simply started them out on the wall when you came in because you guys were making enough noise coming in. They knew that you were coming. I added one of the warriors, and I bumped everybody 5 hit points. So... and you have to do this kind of stuff. We had 6 at the table. These are made for 4 to 5 people. And I bumped them all up a little bit so it would be a little tougher for 6 players. I didn't need to because the paladin played so poorly. He rolled 1s and 2s for every attack.
I was not the paladin.
Until the end. So he was just a non-issue. But if everybody was hitting... and playing well, it would have gone a little quicker. We did use almost all the time. We ended at about 10 of. And, I mean, the encounter, I thought it was fun. I pretty much nerfed the assassin because he loves doing that spring attack by having a couple of the warriors up, all the warriors up on the wall, 25, 30 feet up. And he's like, well, damn it. So he's getting pounded. He had to go out, get healed, and switch over to his dart gun.
Yeah.
So I nerfed all that annoying spring attack stuff that he does, and made him have to think the encounter out a little more. And that's the thing. Some of these builds, like if you build the assassin, you have the spring attack, that's all they're going to do. They're going to move, they're going to jump, they're going to attack. They move, jump, attack. Move, jump, attack. And they do a lot of damage. So if you want to control the time of an encounter like that, you take away that power from that character, and you make them have to do something else. And it came down to the ranged characters were the most valuable in this encounter. Mm-hmm. And I did leave the regular Kittines on the ground, and that gave the weaker NPCs on the ground for the people who were true melee. I mean, RPG Gem came in, and her first attack, she killed one of the guys because it was a second hit on him. It helped that she critted, but I was happy because she usually doesn't go charging in. What did you do?
First thing I did was I fireballed a guy the first round. He saved though, so.
But the funny thing was your zombie.
Yeah.
Because he was useless.
Well, he was more useful than a paladin.
But the paladin, I didn't even make any of the NPCs concentrate on him I figured after 3 rounds of rolling ones, the NPCs are like, this guy's just an incompetent dude in armor. We're not going to worry about him. We'll take out the people that are hurting us. And so I spread the damage around that way. I gave the paladin a chance. But yeah, I went after you because you were doing damage. I went after the assassin. And then I started going on the rangers when they started dealing damage.
Yeah. So I took like 3 out with the Stinking Cloud.
Yeah, well they had all been hit. So the Stinking Cloud helped. It took out one of the warriors, which was the most powerful piece on the board. And then it took out the 2 Kittines, the Spider-Men, who I left on the ground. And they were not really powerful, but they were strong enough that, they could have dealt damage.
Yeah, the first round I did like 28 damage or something crazy like that. And then the next round, when it came up to the bigger guy's turn, I used Maximize Spell and did another 36 damage.
Yeah.
So that was useful. He didn't know what it was, so he was like, what is that? Yeah.
But, all of these had a double attack that didn't have to recharge. It was just an at-will. They all had this the web climb, Spider-Man. And here they've got some recharges on some of these. On the next, it didn't have recharges on the double attack.
I see these guys have the poison bolts as an encounter.
Yeah.
The other ones, that was just part of their attack.
Yeah, the warriors had the crossbow. It was just part of their attack, and everything. No matter what they did, if you look, it did most of these things. Even their daggers in the 5th edition version, they did damage plus poison every time. So whether they're doing damage with the dagger, whether they're doing damage with the crossbows, whether they're throwing the daggers, they were all poison tipped. And to make it more interesting, with the guys that were just the Kittines, I did it so that they used those like throwing daggers, and I was just like, they've got a belt of daggers down them. Kind of like, I forget what movie it was, a guy running around just throwing tons and tons of daggers. And it made everybody have to work harder and think where they needed to go, what they needed to control.
Well, it does say they have 2 daggers. That one had 8, though.
Yeah. I just gave them more.
Really?
And, well, it kept the encounter rolling, and it kept you guys on your feet. And once again, you guys had 6 players, so that's another thing where if I eliminate their range attacks, I take away the ability to control the field, you guys wipe it out in 20 minutes. So these guys weren't that powerful. They had a 12 and a 13 AC. Everyone should have hit.
That's a lot of the guys in here, though.
But everybody should have hit.
What was
the Paladin just couldn't do it. Their dex modifiers were +1 and +2, so they didn't have big dex or anything.
So
these guys
saves? They just rolled well.
Yeah, I was on the saves. You were lucky because I only rolled a couple of crits. And on saves, I was always rolling like 16, 17, 18. So I was going to make the saves no matter what.
You know, I had my zombie in the front though, so that you would attack him.
But the zombie really was only in front for a round, and everybody started stepping in front of him.
You know, they could have been like, zombie, get in front. And he would have gotten in front.
I know, but they saw this slow thing, and he was not attacking, and when he did attack, he was not doing any damage that was bothering him. And they're like, we need to take care of these guys who are a problem.
I have
and I also, what did I do when I was picking targets? I included them in the count.
Yeah.
I would count because I wanted to spread the damage. I rolled the die, and I randomly picked who they were going to do it. I started doing that to spread the damage more. And, you know, there's all kinds of things you can do to spread the damage out and not just wipe out one character. You want the entire party to feel challenged, start getting hit and being brought down, especially this was the last encounter of this chapter.
Yeah.
So I wanted everybody totally taxed by the end of this. And everybody was.
I blew like all my spells.
Everybody was taxed. You guys were all down in hit points. It was really coming down to you needed
10 hit points.
Well, because I think you got healed.
No, I hit.
But I hit you twice.
Twice.
You were down for about 20.
You did 9?
I did 9 and I did 11. So you were down 20. Trust me. I hit you twice. I was spreading the damage and hitting everybody. Some guys were softer. Some guys were unlucky. The assassin was very unlucky.
Well,
the assassin was unlucky because he sprung attack into that one room where he saw the one guy and he didn't know there's another guy up on the wall in the corner that he couldn't see before he started. So he got stomped. There was no way around it. I had to hit him with both attacks, and I did. And that's when he ran away.
Yeah, that was funny. So,
so what did you think of the encounter? Let's compare it to the last two encounters that we played. What did you think of this one?
It was a lot more rough than the last two. Or it wasn't as rough. The last two with the wizards were just psychotic.
The wizards were very OP in those first two. I mean, you had the death cloud and then that firewall that was just uber death.
I think the first encounter, though, was my party being idiotic and attacking somebody they shouldn't have.
Yeah, you guys could have gotten out of that by negotiating, and you would have been happier, and you could have moved to a separate encounter that probably would have been a little more fun than just having all your characters get killed.
And I also would have had 250 more gold.
Exactly. At the end.
Still.
Unless you broke the deal with the guy. I mean, nobody says you have to keep deals with evil guys either. But, yeah, I mean, this one was just really much a straight combat encounter. There was no magic user involved, no mega powers. It was all pretty much, if you got hit, it was steady damage, maybe 10, 11 damage each round that these guys were going to deal, unless both attacks hit. Now, the guys with the daggers, they were doing D4s, so, I mean, you weren't even going to see mega damage. You would have to get a double hit to get that, and I only had that happen once. Overall, I think the encounter was fun. Everybody enjoyed themselves. You were all able to be a little more active in this because I didn't have the clouds controlling the board. Yeah, there were the webs, but nobody really went near those.
What were those? What would they have done?
They were difficult terrain. They would have locked you up, and you would have had to make a save to get out of them. But nobody went near them, so it didn't become an issue. You know, you guys pretty much controlled the room from the first third of it, where you go in, there are no webs, and you had ability to see what you needed to attack. And I tried to tactically move some of the guys around so that they would last longer, so they would hide, and you would have to come into the room more. But, you know, the encounter did what I wanted it to do. It really pushed everybody more than it should have. That's why I did a little bumping and did a little change to some of the things that you were fighting, because I wanted it. It was the last encounter of this chapter, and that's when you want to push everybody all the way down as close to
death.
Not death, but fear of death as you can without killing the party. So, what did you think of the encounter? How it was run? All that kind of stuff.
I think it was a bit of a waste of time having the spiders up on the wall the entire time, because then only you put our melee people out of play for the entire,
But you have to remember there were 7 ground combat characters there, NPCs.
Yeah.
There were 4 that I played where they were up in the air, and they took advantage of that. And those I used as my ranged characters. And that became a battle of melee versus melee on the ground and ranged versus ranged. And that's really how it played out, because who did your rangers attack?
The ranged.
They attacked the ranged, except for the first ranger who crazily ran into the room and let the Spider-Men do their swing thing and come up and pound on him until they were gone.
Yeah.
The other ranger did his thing. You played your ranged character well and targeted those guys up.
Yeah, I put a stinking cloud down and wiped 3 people out.
So, I mean, I know that, so thinking about that, what do you have to say about it now?
It was still rough.
It was rough, but was it so rough you couldn't survive?
We definitely could have made it through either way.
Yeah.
I think it just made it take a bit more time than it would have.
It made you guys think tactics.
Yeah. So I ended up blowing all my level 3 spells, and
but you get them back.
All but
because you've got a long rest.
All but one of my level 2s. I might or might not play my Blackguard again. I gotta level him up.
Well, you need to work on him. I don't know. I wouldn't bring the Druid in. I think they're useless characters.
Yeah.
Especially how weak the large bears and stuff like that are. I think they're relatively useless.
I mean, seriously, wizards, make bears the way bears should be, not little 15 strength wussies.
Well, at least, let's face it, in the wild, a big bear that's a large is much more powerful than a cat.
Yeah, so, and you make the great cat, which should be weaker than the bear, more powerful than the bear.
I don't know if these people have never been to a zoo, never seen a nature film or what.
And
I'm sorry, but a big grizzly bear is one of the most powerful predators in the world.
And then the dinosaur form, it's got the exact same strength as a fucking cat. It's 18 strength. It's 18 strength, and it's just like, alright, whatever, I'm not going to do any damage with this thing.
Yeah.
Because it does like 2d8 plus like 4, maybe, and that's not much. I mean, even with my Blackguard, I'm doing 2d8 plus like 6, or 2d10 plus 6.
You shouldn't be more powerful than a dinosaur.
Exactly. And I mean, it's like, you become a mammoth, a dinosaur, either one of those are going to be stronger than a cat or even a bear. They're just going to be like, they're just going to swing something and you're going to be dead.
Well, I think the problem is that Wizards has just gone so far astray listening to players in the forum complaining about balance.
They backed themselves into a corner.
And the thing is, you should not listen to those players if it makes no sense. When people are whining about balance, it's more jealousy that one character, one attribute or something may deal more damage than them. Balance is the cry of the weak on the forums. And I'm sorry, but, if you don't like that, tough. The reality is, some things will do more damage than anything else on the board.
Just like I messed up my monk class.
Some characters will do more damage than anything else on the board. But every character, this is not WoW. It is not an MMO. And balance to the MMO crowd is everybody does a ton of damage because of PvP. This is not PvP. This is, you've got controllers, you've got strikers, you've got everything
You're on the
in
same
between.
Damn team. You're supposed to want people to be overpowered so that you guys don't die. Would you rather?
No, you're supposed to have some people that are powerful strikers, but they may be softer. You want people who are tanks, who take a ton of damage. They're not going to deal a ton of damage normally.
Yeah.
But everybody has a role. Controllers control the board. They don't deal a ton of damage. They push, they pull, they move towards the striker so he can smash them.
Like the monk. Yeah, he should have a lower AC. Because his AC is 10 plus his wisdom and something else. And you can get it to like 21 if you take the right feats and just be the equivalent of a Blackguard or Paladin.
Well, the monk is fine at that because a monk character, or a monk in reality, back in the old day, the Shaolin and stuff like that, they would fight against armored opponents wearing their robes, and they were trained, they had honed their dexterity and their skills so that it was hard to hit them. part of AC is just, that's why Dex is thrown into it with some characters, because you can move out of the way of an arrow. You can move or feint out of the way of a sword, even if you don't have a weapon in hand, because you're so well trained.
Yeah, because you just dodge it.
And the reality is people need to deal with that. They need to stop being so weak-minded that they think that, all I'm doing is pushing and pulling or doing this or slowing things down. That's your job. You're controlling the board and you're helping the party to win. And if you think the only thing you're supposed to be doing is dealing damage, you don't know crap about D&D tactics or gaming.
Look at our wizard on Sundays. He is built so he doesn't do much damage. He doesn't do a lot of damage.
He is a minion-killing machine because he has that, what is it?
Arc lightning.
It's not arc lightning. The chain lightning. That's awesome. He can do some damage to a couple guys, some damage to a couple more, and then everything else in the room gets hit. And if they're minions and he rolls well, he's a minion-destroying machine. It takes
look at Beguiling Strands.
But it takes those pesky guys out of the way.
But look at Beguiling Strands. What does it do? It does 9 damage and it pushes you. It's not... The wizards aren't supposed...
Well, those spells... they have spells that will do a ton of damage. They can be a glass cannon for a couple of rounds.
Yeah, like Fireball. That's always been OP.
But the thing is, a wizard should be building himself so that he is pushing, pulling, restraining, doing all these things to make life easier on the characters that have to get in close, that have to do the combat. And I am so sick of whiny people. It's not balanced. That is balance. Balance is controlling the board so your hitters can do what they do. Balance is taking the hits but absorbing them because you have so much armor on. So the other characters
the fighter.
So other characters can do what they do. Balance is that a monk does what he does. It's not pandering to the dumbest players out there that don't understand gaming.
Look at the fighter before this. He was the ultimate tank. He had a parry where he could reduce the damage done to him as a reaction. And that was completely reasonable because he was a tank. That's what he was supposed to do.
And a trained warrior can parry.
Exactly. And then the little whiny girls on the forums, that's what I'm calling you now, they're like, oh, that's not fair.
Yes, it is. That's his job. You're stupid if you say it's not fair. That's his job. He goes in, he engages those people, so they have to attack him, and he's parrying, he's taking the damage, but he's sloughing a lot of it off so that you can do what you do.
So you can survive.
Get over it. You're an idiot if you have a problem with that.
Granted, the barbarian also is like the monk, and he can walk around naked pretty much.
Think Conan.
Yeah.
That's what the barbarian is. The prototypical barbarian is Conan, and he was a badass that wore a loincloth, and maybe he had some armlets on, but he wasn't in armor. He would kick ass and take names, and what did he have? He had a great sword, a two-handed sword, nothing on, and he would slaughter because he was so well trained. And that's what the barbarian is really made after. He's the prototypical Conan character. If you have a problem with that, you probably are illiterate, you haven't read your Conans, you haven't read all these books that lay out what a prototypical character does. And that's what D&D was designed to be when it was first made. It was prototypical Lord of the Rings and all those types of things.
Yes.
And that's what the game is supposed to be. It creates these prototype characters that are written in literature, and I think the sad thing is that the people coming into gaming are so wrapped up in video games, watching movies and stuff, that they haven't read books. They haven't even sat down and read graphic novels, comics, and things like that. So they don't understand what these characters are based on and what they do and why they do it. And you know what? You shouldn't even be running your mouth if you have no idea what a barbarian, a true fighter is supposed to do, a mage, or all these kind of things. Just shut up. Stop ruining the game for everybody else on the forums. Just shut up.
Wizards... and not the company, just Wizards. Stop trying to get them to buff them. They're OP enough.
Well, you're going to have... Right now, the Wizards are ridiculous. Once you start getting these level 4 spells...
You don't need anything else other than a party of wizards and maybe a paladin to, stand in front.
You'll need a healer to take care of you if somebody gets in there. But
the moment you get those level 4 spells...
You're overpowered at this point.
If you have a party of wizards... You stand in a corner, you put 2 walls of fire up, and then you put some death clouds down or stinking clouds.
You've been working with the wizards building them. How many control spells are in there?
Thunderwave.
So, I mean,
I think there are actually control spells, but they're so useless, nobody's going to
So they've taken away the controller aspect of the wizard, and they're turning him into just a cannon. And you know what? That's not a wizard. It's not. He's a controller.
Build a sorcerer if you're going to build something like that.
You know, stop listening to these idiots who have no clue what a wizard does. No clue what a monk does. I mean, seriously, stripping Flurry of Blows was the worst thing you did to the monk class. A monk, a trained monk, trained martial artist is going to be able to go pop, 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 3-4 hits before you know what hit you. That is reality. It is.
Now there's no reason to play some of these classes.
Who wants to roll a d6 for fist damage? I get a d6. No.
I think there's one guy over at the other table that plays it, but that's like the only guy that's actually played the monk in the last like two seasons.
Well, since the 128 was no longer valid.
Yeah, since that was the only time it was useful.
And I'll reiterate, the only thing they needed to take away
was martial dice.
Martial dice. It was overpowered, and you didn't need to nerf anything else.
You could easily re-implemented all of the maneuvers.
But instead, you pandered to the lowest common denominator in the forums, and you did what they wanted and nerfed all these things, and you did balance, which is totally retarded. That's not balance.
And with the maneuvers, I mean, you could just copy, paste, change a couple words, and there you go. You got something that you can actually use. It's not that difficult, you know?
But, I mean, it's sad because they're taking a game that I love, they're listening to idiots who don't understand combat tactics, true balance in a game. And balance is not about damage. It's about every party member doing their part.
If anything, with 5th edition, you're going to keep the little wussies that like having overpowered characters. Everybody else is going to leave, go to Pathfinder, GURPS, stuff like that, because the games are much better than this, because they don't just listen to the people and break characters.
I guarantee you that if this is the direction that it's going, I'm leaving at 5th edition. We'll play our 4th stuff if we want to. We're going to move to GURPS. Hell, they've got to reprint a new version of Traveler. If we want to play a space thing, we might even mess with that. I won't play 3.5. I won't play 3.5 because it's so overburdened with rules, and I don't like rules lawyers. And that's what it panders to.
Well, I mean, the guys that play with us, it sounds like that if you can read the rules, you can pretty much just skim it. And you can use the ones that you want and get rid of all the others.
You've got to have a good DM that controls the players. He doesn't allow the rules lawyers to do their thing. He is not a rules lawyer himself. He role plays actively, and he encourages characters to be creative.
I think 3.5 could be a very fun game.
It could, but the problem is I have never seen a table that was not filled with just these rules lawyers who just ruin the game for everybody at the table.
And I mean, it sounds like the character customization is a lot better.
Well, it's not better than 4th. I'm sorry. You can customize characters in 4th too. If you don't think you can, then you just don't know how to build a character.
But it's easier because they actually give you that option. They give you a lot more options than they did in 4th.
Well, in 4th, once they created the hybrid, that gives you your options.
No, I mean, once you reach... I mean, multi-classing works the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, but multi-classing was broken in that. I mean, when somebody can sit there and go, okay, I'm a paladin for 4 levels, then I go to a monk, and then I am god of death.
Yes.
It's broken. That's broken multi-classing. 4th edition got rid of the broken multi-classing, whether they want to admit it or not. And I think that's why some certain people are drawn to Pathfinder 3.5 is that broken multi-classing that lets you make a broken character that's just a monster death dealer, and that's all he is. And I don't approve of that kind of stuff if you're playing a true role-playing game. Our Sunday thing is not a true role-playing game. We role-play, but we built these characters for one purpose, and that is what?
Killing orcas. Originally, it was to kill Asarak.
And that's right. And these are built for a single purpose. They're built to, at one point, kill Asarak. Once we got through that, power it up to kill Orcus, retire it, and be done. These are one-trick ponies made to be super powerful, kill a god, retire, and be done characters. A true role-playing character is not going to be that way. It's going to be multifaceted and able to do a lot of things. And I'm sorry, but if you have a game where, if I want to be the ultimate death character, all I need to do is be a 4th level paladin, then multi-class, be a monk, and then I'm God. I'm sorry. It's broken.
Well, the reason for that is you get ultimate AC, so you're unhittable. And then the monks were just ultimate death.
But see, they nerfed that in 4th, which I think was the right thing to do.
I don't think nerfing the monks the way they did was the right thing to do.
No, they over nerfed it, but there's got to be a happy medium somewhere.
And then they're nerfing the monks even worse.
But there's got to be a happy medium somewhere between 1st edition, where at the beginning a monk was a useless meat bag that got murdered, to where 3.5 it's just broken. Where 4th edition, they over-nerfed it. 5th edition, they've broken it again, where it's just a worthless character to play. I'm sorry, but I'm going to reiterate. Taking away Flurry of Blows was stupid. And then giving, what's the multi-strike that everybody gets?
Deadly Strike.
Alright, so we're back, paused, we debated a little bit off camera. I think something RPGNate didn't understand. If you look at the forums, it's clear that they replaced Flurry of Blows with Deadly Strike in the Monk. Now, Wizards had promised, one, that they were going to fix the Thief class, and they were going to finish the Monk class. That was a promise when the last 2 packets came out. What have they given us? Stupid races, and they've done nothing to repair what they broke. But the reality is that the representatives from Wizards and the people on the forums sit there and say, Flurry of Blows was replaced with Deadly Strike. And what no one is honest enough to admit is that they gave everybody the same power as the monk, basically, by doing that. And they made the monk a useless class. And I know what RPGNate's argument is. You're not rolling for every attack like you did with Flurry of Blows. It doesn't matter. They're giving those damage dice without the rolls. But they're giving it to everybody and essentially saying that when the monk is 5th level, he's getting those multi-attacks. He's getting to just roll the dice without having to do the multi-attacks. He gets the damage, but everybody else gets the same thing. So they're essentially saying that, yes, the monk does multi-punches, he gets those die. The moron with a broadsword, big lunk, who's nowhere near as fast, he gets to swing his thing around and get his multi-hits. Everybody gets to do that without having to roll for the multi-hits. They just get the extra damage. And I have a real problem with that, because what they did was pandered to the people screaming about balance. And the monk was balanced. You know what made the balance for the monk? For every one of the multi-attacks, what did he have to do?
Roll.
He had to roll. So there was a good chance he would only get 1 or 2 shots. Even if he had 3, 4, 5 hits, he may still only hit once or twice, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, I don't know why people had such a problem. The monk was at a disadvantage because he had to roll for every attack. Now, he just gets those dice. So, what I think is stupid, and it's not right, is they listened to the wrong people and they gave everybody those dice. And it shouldn't be that way. Yes, your dice should tier up as a fighter as you advance and stuff like this, but it shouldn't be everybody gets the same dice. And that's what they've done with Deadly Strike. They've busted the system and they pandered to the wrong people. So, what do you have to say?
Not much.
So, RPGNate and I will probably never agree on this, because he just can't get over the fact that Deadly Strike and Flurry of Blows being the replacement one for the other, yeah, it's not a multi-strike where you're doing rolls, but they just give you the damage for free. My issue is that they didn't need to do that. They just didn't need to do it. The monk never needed nerfing. The true nerfing of all these characters was taking away the martial dice. Because, yes, encounters went way too quick on the 128 packet when everybody's throwing martial dice every round on one attack. You know, they're getting all these extra D6, and
They could do it every turn. Not even theirs. On reactions, they could use them.
Exactly, and that was way overpowered. It just meant, and the thing was, the NPCs were still the same week, 12, 13 ACs. You get a hit, and you wipe them out in one shot. And as a DM, you had to really start piling more stuff on the board, didn't you? Or double their hit points so that it lasted more than 15 minutes. In combat, I think that first one, what was the encounter where we were running? It was the one where you were running around the village and there was a lot of role play involved.
Yes.
Which was fun, but I don't think a single combat encounter in that lasted more than 15 minutes the entire season. And that was all because of martial die.
I think the issue is with the 128 packet is it was so much like first edition that combat was also playing out like first edition.
But first edition never had the martial die and just overpowered attacks. It did take a while to do combat because you were doing your D8 plus a crappy modifier, a D6, whatever your damage was. You had that plus a low modifier, but nobody dealt mega damage.
But you could still be one-shotted if something rolled well.
Exactly. But the players to one-shot something was much more rare.
Yeah.
And in 5th edition, that 128 packet, everybody could one-shot everything. Because it's, I get these 3 extra D6, I get this, that, I get to throw all these die. And it was ridiculous.
I one-shotted that ogre in the one encounter.
It was ridiculous. And that's what needed to be nerfed. Not take away powers that made sense for characters and give a substitute that you say, okay, we're going to sub this, but everybody gets it. Except wizards or spellcasters. But it was dumb. Wizards, you're doing it wrong. You're screwing the game up. Everybody complains about 4th edition because of all the stuff you did. 5th edition is more stupid. I mean, we don't need 3.5 redone. We don't need this anything redone that was done wrong. And you don't need to listen to people who keep crying about balance because, I reiterate, they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground when they say that word. Balance has to do with true combat balance, which is?
Everybody has a specific role.
Yeah, exactly. A wizard does their thing, and it's not about damage necessarily. A fighter does their thing. A tank does their thing, and it's not about damage, it's about absorbing. And your ranged guys and controllers, they control the field, they do some damage. Everybody does what they do so that the bad guys don't just gang rush and then everybody has to do a ton of damage or else they die. And I think that's really where this is going because you're losing the controllers on the field and you're ending up with a lot of characters that are dealing damage and not controlling, and you're going to get bum rushed. Because the DM's just going to realize, you know what, I have no reason to worry because they can't control the battlefield, and all we'll do is push in and kill them. We'll run around that big ball of smoke. We'll run around that fireball that's sitting there. And we'll charge, we'll attack, and we'll wipe them out.
I mean, the wizard does have the wall of fire, which could be used as a control mechanic if you used it correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, you did use it as a control mechanic. They do have web, which is also a very annoying control mechanic. I hate that spell. Anybody that uses it, please just tear your wizard up and make a new one.
Well, it's bad if it's played poorly by the wizard in your party. It's good
and
if
the
it's
last
played...
2 times the wizard put it down, he did play poorly.
It ended up controlling your movement, the party's movement, instead of controlling the enemy's movement. It worked well for me because I could have wiped you out much quicker because of that. But they don't have enough controller spells. And
I think they have this ray thing that basically makes it so that the monsters can only do 1 damage.
But the thing is, I mean, you can't even argue that your smoke cloud and stuff, they're not really controller spells. What do? They do 6d6 of damage. They're damage spells. Yeah, it makes people go around the area, but they're there for damage to try to make the wizard, ooh, look, I one-shotted this group of guys. And it's crap.
Yeah.
It's just crap. Sorry Wizards, but I am not buying any 5th edition books. And you know what? I'm going to be blunt, crude, and cuss right now. Fuck you, Wizards, because you shouldn't be having. You've had all these years where the DMs get their stuff sent out so that we can introduce people to the game, and now we got to pay for the packet coming out in August. Fuck you. I'm not paying for it. I'm not buying it, and I'm not doing it.
And then the assholes that just come in and like, I'm a DM. I bought this.
I'm sorry, but some jackass that buys crap on Amazon and then walks into your encounter session and says, "Oh, I'm a DM." No, you're not. Number one, you're not the one running the encounters at the store. They're the ones that pick people to DM because of the way they DM, the way they play. They know them. You're not going to be able to just walk in, so don't buy the packet and think you can just come in and DM an encounter session.
We have a group of DMs that we use.
But we also ask, when people have been playing for a while, and the guy that runs the encounters, he's like, "Hey, would you like to run it?" And a lot of times players are like, "Nah, I like to play." They don't want the responsibility. I can't guarantee I'll be there every week, but yeah, we invite players that we know to do it because we know that they're good players. They may be a good DM, and it's a good introduction for them. But you're not going to be able to just walk in and run a campaign. You're going to be asked to leave the tables or sit down as a player.
Yeah, because those are our tables.
Well, the thing is, it's there for a reason. It's there to bring people in, and if somebody's an ass as a DM, you don't want them sitting there and driving people away. The idea of encounters is to bring business into the stores that we're volunteering to do stuff for. The idea of encounters is to bring new people in. They buy stuff because they start to be like, man, I love the game. And I'm sorry, if a jackass buys a packet off the web and walks in and says, I'm a DM. No, you're not a DM. And then you screw the players over and they leave. Yeah, you're an ass. But no, I think Wizards is getting greedy. I think Wizards is screwing over people who have been loyal to them for a long time. And if they keep it up, Wizards can go fuck themselves. We're moving to another game.
GURPS, they aren't greedy like that, but they don't need to be.
No, well, you make your own campaign. They give you the tools to create what you want.
I think they care more about their game because, they are the original creators of GURPS. They care more about it.
Well, I remember playing old Traveler, Steve Jackson games, Traveler, the little box, and it had the little booklets in it. You had 3 little booklets in that box, and you could create an entire universe from it. And yeah, you could buy some other stuff, but when we played, we didn't have piles and piles of books. Our GM made his own stuff up. He was imaginative. The players contributed. Everybody was very imaginative in the game. We had a lot of fun. And we didn't need to buy a buttload of stuff. You didn't need to keep buying books and books and books, and they weren't raping you up the butt for money every month, introducing a new module, a new book, and new races. It was awesome. And Wizards has just screwed it up badly. There's such money-grubbing bastards. They constantly come out with new stuff for their Magic players to have to put thousands of dollars in the decks and cards. And then they try to do the same thing with D&D where, we've got new books. If you want to be able to play these races, you got to have this and this and this and this. You got to pay monthly for the stupid online thing. They're just money-grubbing bastards. And what loyalty that I had to the game is going to be gone altogether after this season. Once that they're forcing the DMs that volunteer their time. I could be doing something else on Wednesdays, not volunteering to bring people to a game and make money for that company. We could be playing our own game, doing our own thing. And, you're screwing over every person that volunteers to help bring people to the game. You're a bunch of evil bastards.
Yeah. We'll just switch over and we'll play GURPS on Wednesday as well.
Play GURPS. We'll, play old D&D. I've got first edition books. We'll do whatever we want to do. But I don't need to participate anymore when they're screwing us over for all the loyalty. We go to conventions and DM to bring people in at the cons.
Wizard, you're a disgrace to Gary Gygax's name.
Yep.
Just drop the goddamn game. Give it to somebody else.
Give it to somebody that cares.
Just get rid of it. Give it to
Honestly, I feel like now that they're doing that, we were talking about it in the car earlier. The fact that they're going to start charging DMs that volunteer on Wednesdays for materials and stuff and doing what they're doing, I think it's a death knell of the game. I think that they're going to get every last dime they can out of it, and they're just going to let it die.
But they've screwed their players over so much. So many have switched over. I mean, look at how many Pathfinder players there are. The players have gotten sick of Wizards stuff. I mean, they don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't blame them.
I've been pretty disgusted with Wizards for a while, but the thing last night that just pissed me off beyond belief.
At least the Pathfinder people don't screw over their players.
Well, they don't have stuff coming out constantly every month.
Yeah, I mean, they have their core books.
You can get away with minimal books. Yeah, I won't be playing Pathfinder, but you can get away with minimal books, just like you can get away with minimal books for GURPS. You can get away with 2 books. What do you need?
Well,
GURPS Basic Set and GURPS Campaigns. Yes, it's nice to have the other stuff, but what do you really need to play GURPS?
Basic Set. But as a player, you only really need 1 book.
Yep, Basic Set. And that takes care of everything.
Granted, the DM may recommend a couple books, so it's a bit easier. Well, the
thing is, if you're going to play a fantasy campaign, you need 1 of those, that's all. You need that on Character Generation Night, so the DM could have 1 copy of it, or 1 player could have, somebody could have 1 copy of it, because you need it when? For Character Generation Night.
Yeah.
And the DM might need it for his campaign. But if you have that 1 copy, somebody wants to play a specific thing you have to have out of fantasy, you throw it on the table. Take your first night. If you're going to have a 3-4 hour campaign, everybody sit down, generate their characters, spend 3-4 hours, pass the book around. That's what we did in the old days. You might have, a bunch of new people would come and join your group. The DM had his DM's guide, a player's handbook. 1 player might have a player's handbook. It would get passed around. You'd have fun. Everybody'd help you out building your character. And it would be a social event.
But back then, wasn't building your character a lot easier?
It was.
I mean, it's like, okay, alright, I roll for my stats. Ooh, I can be this class. I'm going to be that class. Alright, so I'm that class. Do I get spells? Yes or no? Deal with the spells. Buy some equipment. You're done.
You're done, and you're playing. And it's front sheet only of a loose piece of loose leaf paper.
Yeah.
You've seen my old characters. 1 sheet, and on the back I might have notes and scribble and drawing and stuff.
You could actually do that in GURPS. It would be a bit more difficult.
It'd be tight because you still have your advantages, disadvantages, and all that stuff. But I really feel like, yeah, people might think it's a social game now, but it's not as social as it used to be. If everybody participated, worked together, you had your one or 2 books, everybody had fun making their characters, you had fun playing the game. It wasn't there were no minis. We didn't have minis in combat. It was all in your mind. The DM would tell you, this is how big the room is, this is where the guys are, what do you do? And you would describe what you did, you'd go through through your combat. If there was combat to be done, you would do your role playing, you would play the game. That doesn't happen anymore. And I don't know. The role play has left role playing games, and that's why I'm so happy that we're switching. Yeah, we'll still use minis and grids. The role playing
has left Dungeons and Dragons.
It has, but a lot. Sometimes I think maybe it's just because that the DMs don't have an imagination. I think it's more that the DMs
Wizards make it so
I think it's
difficult.
That the DMs have forgotten how to use their imagination. They're so reliant on this big pile of constant garbage that Wizards is producing and throwing out and having you buy.
Exactly. Wizards makes it difficult.
Wizards has made it so it's not about role-playing. It's about miniatures combat on a map. And,
they're showing that they're a company. They're a corporation. They don't give a shit about anybody that plays their game. They just want you to buy stuff and make them money.
That's why, I've started looking at Kickstarter and stuff like that, trying to find so you can find a game that looks interesting, that's an RPG or something. Support them, support the community, and I'm not going to support Wizards anymore. They're not getting my money.
Yeah, I mean, we're done with you, Wizards. The last book we'll ever have bought from you is E3.
Yep. Because I'm not paying dime one for this next encounter season. I'm not doing it.
And I'm sure
And there's a chance that I won't play as a player either. because I am so angry that they're becoming such money-grubbing bastards.
I think it would. I don't know.
I think the person who runs a store, he'll probably be like, I'll take care of it. But some of it is it's a principle of the thing.
Yeah. The person who runs the store is a nice guy.
He's cool.
Yeah.
He goes out of the way when we go and do conventions and stuff. He invites us, and it's awesome. But, if Wizards was only half that awesome, it would be great.
Yeah.
But he's a gamer. He's a true gamer, comic book lover, all that kind of stuff. And, he loves what he does.
Wizards,
and he appreciates the people that make his store survive.
Wizards are just a bunch of men in suits. They don't care.
Well, and I really think that you've got a lot of talentless hacks that are making the game now. I don't know if it's because they're being told what to do, but what they're throwing out is just hack.
Yeah. And back when Gygax ran the game, those were the golden days.
It was. Gygax gave a damn. And
it was his game. Of course he was. It was his baby. He wasn't going to just let that thing fail.
But that's why I say, honestly, I think we need to start looking to support independent game production. And
like the Star Wars game, I haven't read any of it.
Castles and Crusades, some places like that. They're independent game production. There are other games out there that you can play that are probably just as much or more fun, not as convoluted, not as evil, wanting tons of money and producing crap every month, that you can play without supporting a company that doesn't give a shit about the game.
Yeah, like GURPS, granted they're coming out with a bunch of new stuff. They are coming out with new books, but that's just more support stuff.
Well, it's like, I think I've got to look at the release schedule, but there's some new zombie stuff coming out, I think.
I looked at their release schedule, and it's actually not much GURPS stuff. I think there's like 1 or 2 GURPS books, but the rest is mostly, I think they're coming out with a tank game.
I think they're doing Ogre GURPS as well. So
Ogre GURPS, that just sounds awesome.
Yeah. So, but what they're doing is putting some new rule sets out there, and these are just settings. They're creating settings for you. They're not saying, okay, we're going to create this zombie setting, and then we're going to make 50 modules and charge you $20 a module and bend you over again. They're saying, look, we're going to give you the setting, take it and run with it. Create your world, create your NPCs, your map, your cities, do what you want, make it your game.
Yeah.
And that's what GURPS is. It's make it your game. It's not, all right, this is what D&D is. We're going to make a ton of modules. We're going to strip the role-playing of it. We're going to make you a bunch of drones that just go read one page to the next, one combat to the next. Oh, we'll take a short rest, we'll take a short rest, we'll take an extended rest, blah, blah, blah. No role-playing. Just bullshit. They don't do that. It's make your world and run with it.
And I think the player base now for D&D, they are so inept at role-playing because of their game.
I don't think that they're bad at role playing because of that. They're bad at role playing because there is no role playing, and they don't have.
Well, they only.
Here's the thing: when I started, I wasn't awesome at role playing. I sat down. I didn't know what D&D was. There was a group of 4 of my friends that they're like, "Hey, you want to join us and play D&D?" I'm like, yeah, what the hell? So I sat down and I played. I was quiet for a while, and then all of a sudden, you start drawing in. You see everybody talking, having fun, role playing. You start to participate.
Yeah.
There is none of that. It's, all right, PC1, it's your turn. PC3, it's your turn. All right, this monster goes. PC5, it's your turn. It's all turn-based crap, and you go from one encounter to the next. And, like I said, they've taken the role-playing out of RPGs. And the other problem, you have players who have just become so immersed in video games, where all they're doing is running, shooting, running, shooting, running, shooting, running, shooting. And that's what they want. Run and shoot, run and shoot, run and shoot when they come to D&D. They expect...
Like WoW.
They expect it, and that's not role-playing. WoW's not a role-playing game. What the hell is it? The game from last year. Skyrim. It's not a role-playing game.
It has more potential for that.
But it's not. People still expect run around, kill, run around, kill, run around, kill, run around, cast, run around. That's not D&D. D&D is, you immerse yourself in the character, you role play it, and then you have some combat once in a while. If you're smart, you avoid combat once in a while so your character doesn't die and you have to do a new one. If you're smart, you role play well and you immerse yourself in that world. it is a role-playing game where you're supposed to lose yourself for a while and just have fun.
Yeah. But in Skyrim, the system is actually pretty interesting because you have a speechcraft skill, and depending on how high that is, you can sometimes talk your way out. It isn't very common, but sometimes you'll just be like walking down the road and these guys will come try to rob you.
It's not even important. It's just that's just a point I'm making. Is people are so used to the video stimulation, constant boom, 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 that they come in and you start to try to role play, and they just sit there dumbfounded. Some people come in and they do it well. They enjoy themselves. Others,
our dwarf barbarian, he was good at it.
Others, they come in, they start slow, but once they figure out what you're doing, they jump on in and have fun.
Like our Sunday party, they're starting to really catch on. They're
enjoying the role play, and I think that's why they're getting so excited about GURPS, because it's going to be a true role playing system, the way you're generating the world.
Yes,
and they're really into that idea. They're thrilled that they're going to be role playing, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I gotta, because of the setting that I have in my head, I will definitely put that in there. It's just going to be more difficult. I will figure out a way, no doubt. But yeah.
But anyway, we've gone way far from the encounters. Mostly because I'm just so annoyed with 5th edition. I'm so annoyed with what they're doing now with the upcoming encounter season.
Thursday podcasts may eventually become GURPS podcasts.
Well, or Thursday podcast will be something in general role playing if we're not playing Wednesday nights. I know that some of the players that are going to be playing GURPS with us, they'll probably still go and play encounters. They don't get as mad about stuff as I do. I mean, if I get pissed at a game system or a company, I'm done with them. And I won't do anything with them again. And Wizards is getting very close to that point on my list, where I'm pissed off and I'm done with them because they've screwed with the game, with gamers, screwed with my wallet too many times. And I'm not gonna take it. I don't have to. There are too many other systems out there that I don't have to buy your crap.
Yeah. I mean, coming out with new books every month isn't something.
Well, they were just in it. They haven't done it for, well, now they're doing all the reprints. I mean, milking that out, which I didn't mind when they did the reprints of the original 1st edition stuff.
2nd edition was not necessary.
Well, I don't mind that either, because some people love 2nd edition, and maybe they want to play it. Maybe they don't want to take their 25-year-old books and let their kids manhandle them. They want to leave them on the shelves and keep them for posterity's sake. So now they've got a brand new set of books they can use, they can put on the table, they can enjoy the game and share it with their kids, family, friends, whatever. And so I don't have a problem with them doing the reprints with any of these older books, because some people, like my old DM guide and stuff, it's on the shelf. It's not going anywhere.
And his player's handbook, the binding's pretty much gone. It's just gone.
It was so much heavy use. But, I'm not letting anybody touch that stuff. Those are, I have nostalgic value for them, and I'm not going to let people mess them up. So yeah, we bought 2 copies of the player's handbook, we bought the DM guide, we bought that stuff. If we want to play a 1st edition campaign, we can do it.
Yeah.
And, I'm just not going to give Wizards any more money unless they do a reprint of like Monster Manual 2 or Oriental Adventures, whatever that book was, when they started adding other stuff for 1st edition.
I think
I may buy those.
I forget the book that's coming out. What is it? I know it was something. I don't know what I'm thinking.
I'll buy the reprints of some of the volumes that I didn't buy.
You didn't buy anything past the basic books, did you?
No, because that's what we played.
You had like the 3 basic books and you were done.
Yeah, that's what we played. And we had a hell of a lot of fun for a long time, a number of years doing it. And that just goes to show...
Your DM bought the Tomb of Horrors module, though, didn't he?
Yeah.
Just because, why the
Just because. That was big back then, see if you can make it through Tomb of Horrors and watch your characters get murdered.
If you built an OP enough party, you could probably do it. Probably some druids, because every time they shapeshift, they get health back.
But that was the beauty of 1st edition. They, they came out with a ton of stuff, but you never felt the need to buy it. Especially when you had our group was good. We had good DM. He was always working on his campaign, whether it's making new dungeons, working on cities, working on, wars and stuff that we went and participated in. There was all kinds of crazy stuff. And we had a great time. And he didn't buy anything beyond the 3 books and like the Tomb of Horrors and maybe another module or 2. I think he bought the Greyhawk setting too.
Yeah. I think we have 4 books, including low-tech, because low-tech is very useful.
Yeah. Well, that gives you more weapons.
And then we also got the high-tech book, like the Space Age book, because that was one of the things I was thinking of
If
doing.
we thought about doing like something similar to a Traveler campaign, but not.
Yeah, I was thinking about that for a little bit, but then I'm like, I like fantasy.
So, anyway, this is a long podcast. I think we're going to cut it off here. Be sure to rate, like, subscribe. Be sure to comment.
Rate, favorite, subscribe.
Whatever, it's all the same. Favorite, like, it's all a thumbs up. And follow our RSS feed on the blog. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube. If you do video games and like it, check out radboygames.com. You need to be updating your blog more because you haven't been doing it.
I've been busy with all this RPG stuff.
I know, but
it's been rough.
I do what I can. I make sure that my stuff's updated. I'm not doing yours.
I will actually have a lot more time through August because I've been really, really busy through the summer because of swim and stuff like that. But now that that's done, I'll have more time.
You've got 3 weeks to do some serious work, and once you've got your prep work for your campaign done, you should be able to keep your blog up that you have and updated. And you need to go in today and do a massive update with everything that's been uploaded. But anyway, that has nothing to do with this.
I also saw an interesting website where you could make a website for your campaign so that people could keep up on it and watch, and then the characters could have stuff. I don't know. It looks.
Is it a website or something you can put on your own website?
It's a website. You use it.
Depends. If you have to pay for it, I'm not doing it.
Well, you could do it for free. But it's like a base, like whatever.com.
Well, we'll see. I'll see if there's some way I can implement that into our blog.
I just thought that was interesting because, people are going to be listening to this. They could also keep up on their campaign, see what was happening.
Yeah.
And then also be listening to the podcast about it. See more detailed in writing.
Yeah.
And then see what our characters
look into it and maybe we'll talk about that. Because I do want to do something about tools and stuff that we use in gaming. But that'll be a vlog, not a blog or a podcast. But if you light a fire under me, maybe tomorrow we'll start our alignment vlog and talk about some other stuff in game.
We plan on having a Friday series. We'll see how that goes. I think we've mentioned it before, maybe not.
And we have a Wednesday series. Also,
our Wednesday series, you probably know what that is if you're watching the vlogs.
And also be sure to check on the blog itself. We've issued a challenge to all of our viewers, readers, listeners to paint 1 mini a week. We're going to do the same thing.
I will finally paint a clothwork.
RPG Gem, myself, we're all going to commit to painting 1 a week. We're going to have a weekly contest with bragging rights to the winner. And we're going to have a quarterly contest with prizes to the overall winner. I might do first place, second place, third. I might just do to 1. Just depends because we're not making money off of this. It's just going to be me offering a cool prize to somebody for winning for the quarterly. RPG Gem, RPGNate, and myself will not be in for the prizes because it might be something we already have anyway. Something we find useful in mini painting or whatever we're doing.
Yeah, we won't be taking the prizes for ourselves.
No.
That's for you guys.
It may even be, I've got some very nice brushes that I use. Maybe I'll throw out a cool brush or something to somebody. And we're not talking $1 brush. We're talking like nice sables. So be sure to check out. Be sure to participate, enter, send pictures. Participate in this because, number one, I'm sure that you have minis that you're not painting. Just like me, I got a pile of them out there. So I did it so that I'll start painting these tons of minis. Problem is we're going to have to buy mini storage for the minis when they're painted.
We plan on getting like a glass case. That'll be nice.
Yeah.
To put
and it might be in the corner of our little studio. We'll put it there, but the thing will be not having light glare on it. I'll have to figure out the lighting for that. But anyway,
stuff.
That's the... I can put a polarized lens on, but that means I've got to upgrade the vlogging camera to the body that I want to use my Nikon lenses. But that has nothing to do with this. And no, I'm not a Canon user. I do use Nikon. That's it for this podcast.
Yeah.
Again, be sure to check in with us. Hopefully I'll have something up tomorrow night. We'll need to sit down and talk about it.
I'll pressure him about it.
Well, it might be you and I both arguing about alignments on there, but we're gonna do a general alignment series and then go down to specifics. So we might be able to get 6-7 vlogs out of that, and then we'll move to something else. But that's it for now. I've said that a couple times, and I mean it this time. Again, thanks for listening. Rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check the RSS feed. We're going to do some changes.
Twice. You got to sub twice.
Well, we're going to do some changes. I might start trying to get our podcast on iTunes as well, so you can sub through there. But that's it. Thanks again. RPG Dad signing off.
Bye.